Hey there, welcome to my channel. We have three product reviews today that we're going to buzz through really quickly. I'm going to try to get through all three of these pretty much in 5-10 minutes. Okay, these flashlights have some secrets, so I'm excited to get to those secrets. So let's get to those secrets, okay? Stay with me here. This is going to get actually more exciting than it probably should for a flashlight video. I don't have the box for the P25GT. It was the only one of these three that came with the holster, and I don't have the holster. Well, I do have the holster, but I'm not going to show it to you guys. Okay, I'm also not going to involve the lanyards because I use my own, and also because lanyards tend to change from year to year. I got all three of these a year ago. At the same time, this is my 1-year review. Okay, so there's a yes, no, and a maybe here for me, but maybe you're going to be different. You might see one of these and say, "Oh, I have to have that." And that's great. That's nice. There's some things that I would definitely change. I would definitely change some of the things here. Okay, I have a few flashlights for comparison. The Phoenix LR40R, just for comparison. The K30GT Ace Beam, just for comparison. We do have the one spare battery for the P50, which is the C650. It's 6,500 milliamp hours. Okay, for comparison to the battery, we do have an 18650. I'm not going to show a 21700 for various reasons, mostly because I don't have time for it, and neither do you. Notice that the protected 18650 is taller than this one by a substantial metric. Okay, 4 or 5 millimeters taller. So this is unprotected. Just so you know. I mean, that should be obvious, but just in case it wasn't, no, it's unprotected. Okay. In any case, this is protected, and not only that, it's rechargeable. Okay. Came with this follow-up flashlight, which I will be using to compare to the P25GT. Okay. So here's what I don't like about the P25GT. I don't really like the fact that the moonlight mode, you can't get out of it. Okay. You can't go from the moonlight to other light modes. You have to turn it off first, then you can turn it on. Now, the interesting user interface to this is that you hold it down and it will step up. And then you just keep holding it down and it will step down. Okay. Now, I don't have ISO, so this isn't a great beam shot video, and that's okay. It shouldn't be. This is more about the user experience and less about trying to show you what the flashlights might look like. But that's never work. You get the flashlight. The beam pattern is a little bit different. You want to know what a flashlight's really going to be, you're going to have to buy it. Okay, so I don't like doing that, videos that way. That's great that some people can do that. I'm not doing that. That's not what's happening here. I'm telling you mostly verbally about these flashlights. Okay, this does have one other trick. It goes into a variable strobe, which what's interesting is on the camera you can't see the variations. And that's because it's very smooth. I thought I could hear it, but I was hearing something else ticking in the background. So we just click off of that. Now, if you double click again, it goes into SSS. SOS mode is pretty good. And you double click again, it goes back to that. There's no other function. Okay, I used to think that this has a beacon, and it does. But not with the light itself. It just flashes this. If you press this 4 times, it both locks out it. Well, it doesn't lock out the flash. It gives you the it locks out the other ones 4 times. But for this flashlight, you press it 4 times and you get a beacon mode, which actually makes this an excellent tail stand light. This is what makes this a maybe for me. The reason it's not a yes is because it's shockingly weird to carry. I've carried in my holster a few times, and I literally prefer a different flashlight in there. And that just goes to show this. I don't like carrying the 26350. Maybe you do. I would rather have this in the 26 650 version. So if you can get the bigger battery for this guy, do it. Get the bigger battery for the P25GT. Okay, maximum setting of 3000 lumens isn't all that impressive, but first I'm going to go through everything with this guy. This guy can have deals too. Okay, so it starts out, this is the Folamov Hero. The Hero starts out at 15 lumens, whereas this one's lowest setting. It's a very nice sub 1 lumen mode. So 0.7 lumens, 0.4 lumens, somewhere in there. Okay, you don't have to turn it off and then turn it back on to go into its low setting, which is in the neighborhood of 20 lumens. It doesn't look like it on this camera, but the Folamov has less throw than this does in its low mode. It doesn't look like it on this camera, but trust me, the Folamov has less throw. Okay, it's probably just the shade of black is absorbing the tint from this light better than it absorbs the tint from this one. But trust me, this guy has less throw than this one in this setting. The next one up is quite a bump up in the P25. On this one, it's not that much of a bump. This is still way dimmer than this one's third mode, so the medium mode on this is pretty nice. Okay, you then have a high and a turbo. Now this one then steps up to its next level, which is its third mode technically. And its third mode is almost comparable, but still a lot less throw. The P25 is much throwier than this guy. Okay, P25 has a fair amount of throw. It's hard to tell with the black, and that's intentional because I don't really want to focus on beam patterns today. But the beam pattern is fairly throwy for what it looks like. Okay, so we'll go on to the high mode, and we'll go on a high mode. Whoops, forgot that this one clicks to go to high mode. The high mode on the Folamov is disappointing, and I actually think the Folamov is lying about its output modes because I don't think it reaches 3000 lumens. If it does, then this definitely does more than 3000 lumens. Even though this is throwier, I've messed around in a bathroom with everything off. Maybe I'm tripping and the Folamov says 2000 lumens on the box. I probably am. I'm probably tripping. It probably says 2000 lumens. Anyways, I don't remember. I don't have the box. Moving on. So the high modes are not comparable. The P25GT blows this one's high mode out of the water. If I step up to turbo here, you have similar range. The Folamov has a little bit more output on turbo than the Fitorch does on high, but you go into turbo and this has both more output than this one's turbo and more throw. Okay, and you can even see that on the black here. So in any case, that's just demonstrating that was its highest setting. So, but just size comparison, this is much more comfortable to carry. This thing doesn't come with a pocket clip. I think that you can get one, maybe. You might be able to get one. You might be able to just engineer something. I don't know. Moving on from the Fitorch. There's not a whole lot to learn about this thing. It has no crenulation, so this is not a fully featured flashlight, as I like to call it. Okay, you cannot put it at any angle. If you put it flat down, you will start stuff on fire. If you put it right here, you have an excellent tail stand, one of the best tail stands of any flashlight in the world. Literally, it gets an 8 out of 10 for tail stands. Believe it or not, it can get better. You're about to see why. So, moving on to P50, we do have a tail stand that gets a nice 8 out of 10, and that's because it's very back heavy. It will tail stand in the stuff, cushy stuff like this, just like the P25 does. But see, if I take this guy like this and this guy like this is actually more stable. So if I add just a little bit, this one's over, but if I add just a little bit to this one, it's still pretty stable. Because it's a larger, heavier flashlight, it's actually more stable than this one. That's why it gets a 9 out of 10. Okay, it has no roll stop. Disappointing. Most flashlights today don't have roll stops anymore. I don't know what in the world is wrong with people, but we don't have roll stop flashlights. We just depend on like the clips and other things that are extremities on the flashlight. Okay, this has a whole bunch of settings, which I'm not going to go through right now. But basically, I want to upload this video before I leave for work today and just tell you that this flashlight was a disappointment. Why? Two reasons. Number one, you cannot change the brightness to the color modes. And that actually really sucks. That really sucks. Number two, you cannot change the brightness to the high CRI mode, which could get much brighter and could also get a little bit dimmer. It's a very soft mode. You can almost look at it. I wish you could dim it out, because if you could dim it down, you have a beautiful nightstand light, pretty much perfect, but you can't. So you don't. You can't use this as a nightstand light, in my opinion. Okay, it's just too bright. All right, even if you ceiling bounce this, it's too bright. It's too many lumens. It's like 80 lumens, 120, I'm not sure, somewhere in there. It probably says in here. Nope. Probably somewhere in the instructions, which I'm not going to go through. You know, I mean, I just, like, I love it. I love it. It's a great light source, but it's flat. You don't hold it down, it just turns it off. Hold it back down again, doesn't even turn it on into that setting. Okay, now you click to go through the settings on this one, and you double click to go to the turbo. I don't love that. And then you click again to go back to where you were. I don't love it. I've gotten used to it. You hold it down from off to turn it on, but then the other reason I don't like either this or the P200 is it has this really janky system for the lockout mode. Okay, so the brightnesses here we are just going to, it is what it is. I'm actually going to show you both. This is a P50. This is the P200. In both cases, the turbo does not last forever. That's not how that works. You can look at the time scale and you can say, well, mathematically 500 to 1,000, that hours makes sense. But 1,000 to 2,700, you already have a problem. The P50 does not run at 2,700 lumens. It runs a little bit over 1,000. Okay, that's it. So it's a 1,000 lumen flashlight with 2 boosted modes. It is practically the same thing with this guy. You got 9 hours to 7 hours. That doesn't make any sense. So the P200 does not maintain 2,700 lumens. It's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,700. I think you all ought to know that before you buy these flashlights. Okay, now I don't really have any more time for this video, but I still wanted to get it up for you guys. The basic conclusion here is the P200's got some secrets. Now I'm going to have a part 2 to this video where I go over P200 specifically, but the bottom line is the P200 is a pretty special flashlight, and it's got a really awesome handle, and it was definitely a yes for me. I would never buy the P50 again. Maybe you do want that little guy, but I wouldn't get it again for numerous reasons, mostly because it doesn't have that high output for very long, number one, and number two, it doesn't have changing levels on the color settings, and on top of all those problems, it does do very well with charging, which is actually, if you want a flashlight that charges, it's small and convenient, it's this guy. Okay, it's much smaller than the 200. My camera might not be doing this justice, but it's much smaller. Okay, it can completely fit inside that. This is a way smaller flashlight. Okay, so in any case, my recommendation is, of course, to you can jump on the P200. It has an amazing runtime on its medium, low, and eco modes. Okay, so it's perfectly happy, you know, but it just doesn't run even the high mode for all that long. There you go. This does this really cool thing where it has a flat surface. It balances. And that alone is pretty awesome. Have a good one.